This eggplant casserole with cheese recipe is going to be delicious. As you know, I recently made an eggplant pie and it was absolutely phenomenal. So I wanted to keep experimenting with eggplant. I know I've been doing a lot of casseroles recently, so I said, I wonder if I could make an eggplant casserole. So I just went to YouTube, I searched eggplant casserole, and I started researching what other people had done. I saw a recipe that looked really good. Can't remember the name of the YouTube channel. I'll try to remember to include a link in the description box. But his recipe, I think it was based on a recipe from a Louisville, Kentucky cafe, and it looked really good. It was kind of like an eggplant dressing or stuffing. And I said, you know what? I want to take that as inspiration and make my own version of it. So here it is. I took one small eggplant. It was 480 grams, so a bit over a pound. And I chopped it up. First I sliced it, and then I put it, just like with the eggplant pie, I put the slices on paper towels, sprinkled them with salt to help draw out the water, not only to make the casserole less watery, but also to draw out some of the bitterness. I waited half an hour and then I blotted the tops of the eggplant slices with a paper towel, and then I took them off and I chopped them up. I didn't do 2 or 3 rounds like with a pie. I don't think it'll be necessary with this. To show you what I did, here I have a slice of an eggplant. After they had drained, all I did is I just cut it like this, and then I turned it and cut it back like that. Nice and simple. Then I got the eggplant ready for the sautéing. I started off by sautéing 1 small onion, a little over 100 grams, and 1 tablespoon of butter and 1 tablespoon of canola oil on medium heat for 5 minutes. Then I added the eggplant, cooked the eggplant and the onion for 5 minutes. Then I added a small tomato, about 200 grams, cooked that for 5 more minutes. Then I put that off to the side. This is going to be the basis for the casserole. Like I said, my inspiration is kind of a dressing or stuffing, so I'm going to add some bread. Here I have 3 pieces of wheat bread. They're just 28 to 30 grams each. You can see they're just normal. This is normal, fairly inexpensive wheat bread. It's nothing special. I toasted it on each side in a pan on the stove. You could do it in a toaster if you want, I'm sure, or even in the oven. If you do it in the oven, it seems like it draws out more of the moisture, so you may not need to add quite as much, just so that you have that in mind. This is going to help to absorb some of the moisture. I may not use all the bread, we'll see. But I am going to add some more moisture. I'm going to add 1 cup of sour cream, as I measure 240 grams. I'm using a light sour cream because I'm trying to be healthier, but I'm sure you could use full fat. I'm also going to add 1 large egg to help bind everything together, and I'm going to use 8 ounces of shredded Colby Jack. I thought about using mozzarella like I did for the pie, but then I said, you know what, why have 2 things that are very similar? So I'm going to use Colby Jack. I know usually I use onion soup mix in my casseroles, but today I'm going to use Italian-esque seasoning. Half a teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, basil, oregano, and parsley. Honestly, I think I'm going to need more than this. I think I'm going to need a full teaspoon of each. But when you're making a casserole, when you're doing anything in the kitchen, it's always better to add less and add more later than to try to take away. If you don't have all these individually, I would do 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. I probably should use a separate mixing bowl, but I'm not going to. I don't feel like dealing with all that and cleaning multiple things. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to mix everything in this pan. It's cooled off. I'm going to slice the bread, then start adding it in the sour cream and see how watery it is. So here I go. I'm adding 2 slices of bread. At first, like I said, it's always easier to add more later than to take away. I'm going to add a cup of sour cream. And now I'm going to start mixing to see how much moisture there is. I actually decided to add another piece of bread, so now I have 4, for a total of about 120 grams of bread, I would say. Now I'm going to add my spices. Like I said, I may be adding more in the future. We will see. Whenever you make a casserole, usually it seems like you have to add more spices than you would expect, because casseroles actually have a lot of filling in them. Could be a pound or two of filling, so you have to season it thoroughly. I added the spices, and just as I predicted, I needed to add a full teaspoon of each. So if you don't have those individual spices, I would do 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. Now I'm going to add the 8 ounces of cheese. If you want to save some and do a topping of some sort, I think you could, but I'm not going to, because I think that if some of the cheese and some of the eggplant is exposed to the dry heat of the oven, it's going to form a nice crust. And if I put a total cheese layer on top, I wouldn't get that. Now this is going to go into a 350 degree oven. I think I'm gonna do uncovered. Usually with stuffing, I do covered and then I take it off, but I think this will be okay uncovered at 350 for, I'm guessing, 30 to 45 minutes, but I'll let you know. I just took the casserole out of the oven. It was in at 350 uncovered for 45 minutes. It smells and looks amazing. This eggplant dressing looked absolutely fantastic and smelled just as good, so I couldn't wait to dig in. Teaching myself how to make eggplant casserole with cheese was definitely worth my time. Because honestly, this was absolutely outstanding. What I think made this recipe so good was the fact that eggplant combines very well with tanginess. I don't particularly find mozzarella to be super tangy, so in the eggplant pie, it was the sour cream that added the tanginess. That was so good. However, in this eggplant stuffing casserole, it was both the sour cream and the cheddar cheese. The tomato added some nice acidity as well, so there was definitely more than enough tanginess to really make this absolutely delicious. I really liked the texture as well. Just as I had predicted, the top got a little bit crispy while the inside was nice and soft and moist. Although this was my first time making eggplant casserole with cheese, I think I did a really good job of combining the right ingredients in just the right amounts. I didn't find it to be too cheesy or too bready or too eggplanty. It was just perfect. Honestly, if you're tired of stuffing or dressing for Thanksgiving, whichever word you use, I think that you should definitely give this a try if you have access to some late season eggplant. Another thing that made this really good was that the Italian-like seasonings combined really well with everything. As with the main ingredients, the spices were combined in just the right amounts. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but honestly, this eggplant casserole with cheese was amazing. It was probably one of the best things that I've had so far this year. It's truly amazing what combining your own creativity and personal taste along with inspiration here on YouTube can lead to. Being a chef before the age of the internet and especially social media would have been a lot harder. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.